Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Master of Data Science Admissions panel discussion. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that UBC's campuses and learning sites are situated within the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, and the traditional ancestral unceded territory of the Silix Okanagan Nation and their peoples. My name is Milad Maymay, and I'm the Director of Program Operations and Student Management for the MDS Vancouver campus program. And I'm also going to be the moderator for this panel discussion. For the next hour, I will ask our panelists the most frequently asked questions that you submitted when you registered for this event. During this time, we will try to answer as many questions as possible. And if we have time, I will also try to address questions that you pose in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We also have some staff members working in the background who will be trying to answer the questions in the Q&A box in writing. Just a quick reminder that about a month ago, we had our student and alumni panel discussions in which we heard from both current students and alumni about their experiences prior to applying to the program, during the program, and what they did after the program, after graduation. You can find these recordings on our website. But today we're going to focus our discussions on the application and admissions processes. And again, we will be recording this session for those of you who can't join us live. Okay, because we only have 1 hour, let's just get started. The first thing I'd like to do is to ask our panelists to introduce themselves. So maybe let's start with Jeff.
Sure, I'm Jeff Andrews. I'm an associate professor of statistics at UBC's Okanagan campus and one of the co-directors of the MDS program here, along with Dr. Khalad Hassan, who serves as a co-director as well. I do research in unsupervised learning and teach in the program as well.
Thanks, Jeff. Mika, do you want to go next?
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Mika Silvämeri. I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Linguistics and an instructor in the MDS CL program. And I'm a computational linguist myself.
Thank you, Mika. Finally, Mike.
Hi, everyone. My name's Mike Gelbart. I'm an associate professor of teaching in the Department of Computer Science here at UBC Vancouver. And along with my co-director, Tiffany Timbers, I am one of the two co-directors of the MDS Vancouver program.
Great, thank you very much. So let's get right into it. The first question I'd like to ask you is if you can start by briefly speaking about what you are looking for in an application to either the MDS Vancouver, MDS CL, or MDS Okanagan programs.
Sure, I can start with that. There's a few things that we look for, and we also have an application advice page on our website that maybe we can have posted in the chat. But what I'm looking for is, does the applicant understand what the MDS program is? Because it's a very specific type of program. Do they understand what data science is, and do they have a reason for wanting to do it? That's kind of the motivation piece. Then the preparation piece, I'm looking at a combination of grades, work experience, reference letters, everything that we ask you to submit, we look at because we're interested in those things. So I guess from a very high level view, it's kind of motivation and qualification are the two important pieces.
Feel free to jump in, Jeff or Mike. Oh, Mika, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think there's a ton to add on that from what Mike said. That's what we're looking for on the Okanagan campus as well. We do serve as different admissions committees across the two campuses. So, but we're looking for very much the same thing.
And for the CL program, we're looking for all of these things. And in addition, we do want you to show that you have an interest in language and language processing. So it's very important for us to see this. You could demonstrate this using examples from your coursework or projects or your projects at actually work. And you could demonstrate it using examples from your yeah, just sort of other leisure projects. But we need to see that you have an interest in language.
Thank you all. The next question is about the various components that we require applicants to upload or submit in their applications, and the approximate weighing. Do you weigh the different components of the application differently, or is it more of a holistic basis?
Yeah, it's holistic. We don't have a weighted scoring scheme or anything like that. And the different parts of the applications can definitely make up for each other, but also synergize with each other. So I guess my short answer is it's holistic.
Yeah, and then same goes for the Okanagan campus there. We really do review them as sort of a whole and kind of grade them as such using all the different components.
Yeah, the same applies for the CL program as well.
Awesome, thank you. So one of the parts of the application is the letter of intent. So in your opinion, what is a stellar letter of intent?
Maybe I'll jump in so Mike's not going first every time. But we're looking for actually kind of touches on what Mike already mentioned, but and Mika as well. Really where your interests lie on data science, not just, I think I might be interested in data science, but sort of showing to us that you've started to move in that direction, regardless of your training background. And then that speaks a little bit to prior experiences as well. But that's where the stellar ones come in, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of the same. And again, I would make sure that my statement mentions interest in language as well for the CL program. That's very important. Personally, I'm excited to see when people sort of talk about what the program can give them, and maybe talk about interest in specific courses, because that shows us that you've actually sort of put in the effort to get to know the program.
Yeah, I can add to that and say, if the letter demonstrates that the person has extensively researched the UBC MDS program, that's definitely a plus. And I mean, something that doesn't help, but that I see a lot, so I think I'll mention it, is kind of like the flattery approach of, hey, like UBC is so amazing, all that kind of stuff. Like, we like UBC, but it doesn't tell us about you, right? We really want to hear about you, not about us. And so I would recommend keeping your statement focused on you and why you and the MDS program are a good match.
Great, thank you for that. The next question is about any prospective student who is interested in the program and what you think he or she should have prior to applying for the program. Any skills or background you're looking for?
Well, we are super diverse in terms of skills and backgrounds. So, I mean, we have the prerequisites of the program. And other than that, we really aren't looking for a particular set of skills. We're always looking for new and interesting sets of skills. It is nice when people go a little above and beyond the prerequisites and they've done maybe slightly more of one of those things, but we're not only looking for, we want to have something to teach you. So if you've already done everything that we're going to do in the program, then there's not really a point to it. So we have people, as you probably know or have seen from our website, from all kinds of backgrounds, from business, engineering, pharmacy, music, all kinds of things. And I think that's one of the strengths of the program. And what students will tell you is, wow, my classmates are so interesting and I have so much to learn from them.
Yeah, I'll just pipe in to agree with that. There certainly has been a diverse population here on the Okanagan campus for the program, and it's been really interesting to see. And that there's not a huge trend line on what the backgrounds are and their performance in the program. Some of those students with business backgrounds or music backgrounds have been among our best students. So it's great to see.
I just thought of one other thing as Jeff was talking, that our faculty actually come from all kinds of backgrounds as well. And so that's part of it too. Data science is a very broad field.
So one question that keeps popping up in the Q&A I notice is that people are wondering if and you've already answered this question, but just to confirm, if you are looking for, if it's an advantage to have maybe a CS or statistics degree, undergrad degree versus another undergrad degree like chemistry or arts or whatever.
From the admissions aspect, I would say the answer is probably no in the majority of cases. For partially what sort of Mike spoke to, that we don't want to take people in that already know everything. You're here to learn with us. But that said, those coming with a computer science background aren't going to know everything in the program. So they may have a slight advantage in some of the modules for the programs on the different campuses, but there's going to be plenty that they're going to be learning in the other ones that they haven't seen much of or any of in a lot of cases. So from an admission standpoint, I'd say there's no strong preference in terms of the background. We're really trying to build a diverse student group. Yeah, so I think cover that for our side.
Yeah, this is also the case for the CL program. We do like to see people from arts backgrounds also applying to the program. So we're also looking for a diverse pool.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about admissions and mostly for maybe the CL for Mika. Is there only one single round of acceptances, or are there multiple rounds to fill spots if some individuals are admitted into both campuses and turn down one?
So we do have 2 rounds of admissions, and I think the deadline for the first one has just passed. The main difference between these 2 rounds is that basically you can just get feedback a bit sooner if you apply in the first round. So there's no real difference between these. Sometimes if your application is very promising but is lacking in some parts, we might ask you to then sort of supplement it by taking a course or something, and then we can consider you again for the second round. But in general, I don't think there's much of a difference between these rounds. Yeah.
And Jeff and Mike, how does it work for Okanagan and MDS Vancouver?
We in previous years actually did do rolling admissions. This year we're moving a little bit away from that, and we're going to do our first round of admissions, I think, around the end of January or a little bit after that. And then to answer this sort of question, is there only a single round of acceptances? No, we do fill out the program over the next month or two after we begin that process.
Yeah, it's something similar for us. We have a lot of applications to read, so it takes us several months to read through them. And as we start flagging people for admission throughout those months, those offers might get sent out. And then at the end, some extra offers may get sent out depending on how many offers we've sent. So there's one admissions deadline, but the offers might go out over several months.
I could actually just add that this is also what we do in the CL program. So we send offers throughout the spring.
Thank you. There is a question about admissions rates. Any of the programs comfortable sharing any admissions rates?
If you're okay with it, Milad.
Yeah, I can say that it's hard to talk about admissions rate because every year is a little bit different. And the last couple of years we had the COVID years, which threw everything off as well. But just so everyone knows, the MDS, I think all MDS programs are very competitive. Only the top applications make it into the program. And in terms of rates, the last couple of years, our rates have been between 10 and 15% admissions rates.
We'd be a little bit lower on the Okanagan side, just from a numbers standpoint. But yeah, about that.
And I don't have these numbers for the CL program.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about references. What kind of references are ideal? Would including a reference from a retail manager or from a part-time job, or a less maybe significant referee be okay or useful?
I can start with this. My guideline is always, I mean, they should know you well and they should be credible. So someone who barely knows you, even if they're famous, is not super useful in my opinion, because they can't really say anything about you. They can just put their name on a piece of paper, basically. Someone that was your manager at work would be ideal. Someone that was your supervisor in an academic capacity would be ideal, or an instructor that you got to know particularly well in an academic capacity. A peer is not generally good, I would say, or a coworker, but someone that is managing you or supervising you would be good. In some academic settings, professional reference letters are kind of frowned upon, but us being a professional master's program, it is definitely not frowned upon. Seeing professional references are great.
I don't think I have much to add to that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just add that the combination of academic and professional references is probably best. So if we're requiring 3 reference letters, so if you have 2 professional, 1 academic, or 2 academic, 1 professional, is probably a little bit better than just having 3 professional or 3 academic. But we understand if you're, you haven't really worked that much or had any professional experience, that if you submit 3 academic references, that's also okay. Okay, so the next set of questions is a little bit focused on the international students. We get a lot of questions from international students because it's a little bit more complicated, their application maybe. So the first question is, I think, pretty easy to answer, but is there a fixed quota for international and domestic students?
No.
Yeah, thank you. What is the usual post-grad work permit duration according to previous year's experience? So international students, after they graduate, they have to, if they want to stay in Canada or work in Canada, they have to apply for a postgraduate work permit. So the question is, what's the duration of the postgraduate work permit that international students can get after graduating? And I can speak to that if you want, because I have experience. So this is a hard question to answer because rules keep changing. It depends on the application that the student submits, and obviously the visa officer that reviews the application. In the past, most of our students have been able to get multi-year post-grad work permits. But again, this is in the past. It's not a prediction of what's going to happen in the future. Jeff or Mika, anything to add? Okay. Another question is MDS recognized as a full master's degree program in Canada, since it's under 12 months in duration? Again, I can talk to that if you want, and the answer is yes. It's a full master's degree. It's just the reason that it's 10 months is because we've made it an intensive accelerated program. So you get a lot of information squeezed into 10 months, but it's just as any other master's degree at UBC. And it's a professional master's degree versus a research-based master's degree. The next question is, how strict are the IELTS or TOEFL requirements?
I would say quite strict.
Yes, I mean, again, it's a very competitive program. So if you don't meet one of the check boxes, then your chances of getting into the program is probably lower than people that do check all the boxes. Next question. When reviewing applications, do you view international and domestic students differently? That's an easy one as well. Anybody want to take that one?
We don't. Yeah, we treat everyone equally.
That's right. Same with MDS Vancouver, and Jeff is nodding. Okanagan is also the same. Great. The next set of questions is about scholarships. What scholarships are available?
So we have several different scholarships, and if we could put the scholarships page in the chat, that would be helpful. We have a general merit scholarship for MDS Vancouver, and we have 2 new scholarships this year for Indigenous and people of color students who are applying to the program, which we're very excited about. So the details are at the link that I see Vanessa just posted in the chat.
And I think for Okanagan and CL, the scholarships are listed in the same on the same link. What I just wanted to add to what Mike just said is that you do not have to submit any extra information to be considered for the scholarships. You'll be automatically considered for scholarships with the application you submit. So everybody will be considered for the scholarship. So you don't have to submit anything extra. Okay. Just to add, so in the past, we had a MasterCard Foundation scholarship. So this is for MDS Vancouver, a MasterCard Foundation scholarship for applicants from sub-Saharan Africa. But unfortunately, the contract with MasterCard Foundation has run its course. So we are not, or the MasterCard Foundation is not offering that scholarship anymore for this year. That was another question that we had. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more in general, some general questions. One of them is, if I am missing a prerequisite course at the time of application, can I make it up before enrollment? So maybe before the program starts, either with a UBC course or an online course completion.
I have a lot to say about that one. So yes, it is possible. It is not as good as having the course done because we can't see your grade in the course. So there's kind of, best case scenario is everything is done by the time you apply, we can see your grades. The next best case scenario is that you have a concrete plan to take the course, you're registered in it, you can convince us that this plan is actually happening. And in some cases, we might actually hold your offer. In those cases, we might say, look, we really want to admit this person, but it's March right now. They're going to be getting their grades in a month. So we'll just wait until they're done the course and contact them to get the grade. Although in some exceptional cases, we'll just send the offer while the course is in progress. And then kind of the least ideal scenario is that there is a vague plan or a not very plausible plan to take the course. And it can't be an online course. So our prereqs are for accredited university courses, and certainly that applies whether you've taken the course before or after you've applied. They need to be regular university courses to fulfill the prerequisites.
Yeah, I completely agree with Mike's assessment there, and remind that what Milad has said, this is a very competitive program. So you do want to be in the first category as much as possible. But I agree, we've had some cases where we've looked at people that are currently enrolled in courses and thought, okay, let's give them some time and consider the output from that and whatnot.
Yeah, in the past, we sometimes, if the candidate is very promising in other regards, extended conditional offers, subject upon the condition that the student takes the course at a university. But in general, we do require that all the prerequisites are there.
Great, thank you. Just maybe a clarification about online courses. So if it's especially with a lot of programs going online due to COVID, if it's a regular university 4-credit course and you get a grade on a transcript, we accept that if it's an online course. But what I think Mike was talking about online courses are the MOOCs or the Audacity, what are they called? Udemy and those kind of courses that you just get a certificate. There's no grade. We don't know. We can't assess it. There is no formal transcript from a university or college. Those courses we do not accept. But if it's a 4-credit course that you get a grade for and it shows up on your transcript, we do accept those online courses. Okay. The next question is, what if I do not meet the minimum GPA requirement? Can I still apply? Can previous work experience make up for a lower GPA?
Not if it doesn't meet the prereqs, of course, but if the work experience can make up for lower in terms of competitive with other applicants' GPA. We've run into those cases where somebody's got 10 years of experience and a fair amount of that related to what we're kind of covering in our courses and whatnot, and that certainly can make up for some of that. Yeah.
Mike or Mika, anything to add to that?
Well, I mean, I'd say that you, of course, can apply, but your application is just going to be weaker than it would be if you did meet the GPA requirement. Yeah, of course, sometimes people have sort of legitimate reasons for this. They might have suffered an illness or something, and then it's important that you explain this in your application.
Yeah, I was going to say that if there is a reason why maybe you had a lower GPA that you can explain to us, that's we will definitely take that into consideration. Okay. Here's another question that I think we can answer quite quickly. Can students in their final year of university apply for the program?
Yeah, definitely. In that case, the student likely wouldn't have that much work experience and they'll be at a disadvantage compared to applicants that do have work experience. But we do have people in the MDS program who are straight out of undergrad. Typically, those students have incredible academic records to make up for the lack of work experience.
Great, I see everyone else nodding, so I'll just go to the next question. Again, another kind of GPA grade question. I have low grades in prerequisite.
Oh no, we lost Milad. Well, I can try to reconstruct what that question was going to be, or does anyone have it in front of them?
I'm looking.
If it's about grades in prerequisite courses, I could try to speak to that. I think for me personally, grades in prerequisite courses do matter to me more than grades in other courses, because that's demonstrating your ability to handle the type of thing we're going to be doing in the program. And I now see the question in the chat. So yes, grades in prerequisite courses are more important than grades in any other courses. but I have now done certification courses in those subjects. Would this supplement my low grades? Yes. So again, like we said earlier, this is a holistic application process. If the issue at hand is, say, programming, then at the end of the day, we need to be convinced that you have the skills in programming to do the program. And there's various ways you could demonstrate those skills, such as having gotten an A in a programming course a year or two ago. But if you have a low grade from 5 years ago, but can convince us and demonstrate that you have been using those programming skills or done something since then, we would definitely take that into account.
Sorry, everyone. I don't know what happened. I just got kicked off the call, but I'm back. Thank you. So the next question is more about the program itself. What is the pace of the program?
I think most students find the pace fairly quick, pretty much right from the beginning. It is an intensive course load and a sort of condensed program, as was previously mentioned. So it's fast in that sense. And we're trying to take people from, again, all these diverse backgrounds and get them up to speed at roughly the same time on a pretty large variety of topics. So that would be my assessment.
I haven't met a student in 6 years who said the pace was slow.
Okay, on that note, thanks, Mike. We'll go to the next question. It's about the Capstone project. Would we be given the opportunity, by we, obviously the students, the opportunity to pick the industry partners and projects we want to work with, or would they be allotted to us?
So maybe I can start. So in the CL program, at least the students rank all projects, and we're typically able to assign you to a project that you rank very highly. So you do get a say in the matter, but you may not be able to get your top pick, but you'll get one of the top picks for your project.
Same process here on the Okanagan campus as well.
Same.
Thank you. I think we talked about this already, but let's maybe, because there's a lot of questions about this. I come from a non-traditional background, for example, nutrition, healthcare, political science. Will I be able to apply for the MDS program?
Yeah, so reiterating pretty much what we've said before, so long as you meet the prereqs in terms of the courses that are pretty intro level in sort of math, computer science, and statistics, then you're eligible to apply and given the same consideration as anybody coming from one of those backgrounds, frankly.
Again, lots of nodding. So let's go to the next question. If not having a relevant background to apply for the MDS program, what knowledge do you advise us to learn before we can apply or before we apply?
So I think the prerequisite courses and that knowledge are the most important ones. So I would focus on getting coding skills and sort of the maths foundations that are required for the program.
Yep, I agree with that. And I can just make an additional point that the prerequisites state a calculus or linear algebra course. And if you have more time, doing both will help you. And likewise with statistics or probability, doing both will help you. So I think beyond the prerequisites, those are areas that you could consider focusing on if you want to do some extra preparation.
Yeah, and also I would say there was some questions about having taken the prerequisites a while ago, like 5 or 10 years ago. So if you fall in that category, so maybe you've taken the prerequisites 7, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, it's probably good for you to, in that case, take an online course to show us that you have the more current knowledge, and you kind of refreshed your knowledge. You might have forgotten a lot of things that you've done 7-8 years ago. So that would definitely help in an application. So you meet the prerequisites. Yes, they were taken 8 or 9 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever they are. But you've taken some courses to kind of show us that you kind of refreshed your knowledge before you applied.
Yeah, that's a good point, and reminds me, another way to be up to date, so to speak, is if you're using those skills in your work. So if you've taken the programming course 10 years ago, sometimes we're trying to read people's resumes and we just can't understand, what is the exact nature of this job as a technical product manager, or whatever the case may be, oil and gas consultant. Are they coding? Are they so if you're using those technical skills in your work, then please make that clear in your application, because that's going to help build our confidence about you coming into the program.
Great, thank you. So the next question is, again, about gap in because of their education gap. So they graduated a while ago and they would like to apply for the program. What advice do you have for those applicants who maybe graduated with an undergrad degree or even a master's degree more than 5 or 6 years ago, and they're wondering if they should apply for the program and what would make their application competitive?
Yeah, so basically the points that Milad and Mike have both touched on, upgrading those sort of courses that are prereqs to the program, and showing that you do have sort of interest in these areas, and you're pursuing them somewhat on your own time outside of when you were in university. If the work that you're currently doing does not sort of use those things, right? So.
And I would just add, I wouldn't want applicants to feel like they're at a disadvantage because they're 5 years out of school. I mean, that's actually probably around the typical case for people coming into the MDS program. I mean, we have the whole spectrum from fresh out of school to 10 or even 20 years of work experience, but something like 4 or 5 years is probably the typical case. So, I mean, it strengthens your application to have that work experience. You're not coming in at a disadvantage if you have not touched math or programming or any of those things for 5 years because of the nature of your work. Then yes, sure, you're going to want to reassure us and demonstrate to us that you're ready to go with those skills. But aside from that, it's a very normal situation.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. And we're sort of looking for those cases that somebody's been, out of school for 4 years, but working in some field that now are realizing that, oh, well, I have to use, all these modeling techniques and this data wrangling to try to do the things in my position. And I really got interested in it, and I'm looking to do more of it.
Thank you. There is a question about housing. I think it's mostly for UBC Okanagan, but somebody says, I hear that there is an amount of housing reserved for MDS students. Can you confirm this? How many rooms for the UBCO campus?
Sure, yeah, it's not a set limit of rooms or a specific amount. We do have priority access to on-campus housing if we meet certain deadlines. So they need to apply for the housing by May 1st, I believe. And somebody on the staff can correct that if I'm wrong in the chat. But yeah, I believe it's May 1st is the deadline to apply for housing, and June 1st would be the deadline for confirmation in the program to sort of retain that priority access.
Thanks, Jeff. Here's a question for Mika, and we've kind of talked about this already, but let's refresh our memories. Can someone with a linguistics degree and no computer science background apply?
Well, we definitely encourage people with a linguistics degree to apply to the computational linguistics program. But we do want that you have taken the prerequisite courses. So that's important. And this is simply because in order to sort of survive in the program, you need to have that programming and mathematics background. So as long as you've taken the prerequisite courses, yes, you can definitely apply.
Thank you. I'm going to get into some of the questions that have been posted on the Q&A chat. One of them is, how do you normalize GPAs from various universities? So for example, my university tends to mark harder than other universities.
That's a pretty big challenge for us. We have a lot of different universities, and we start to get to know the universities over the years. By now, this is going to be our 7th time doing admissions for MDS Vancouver. And so we have some know-how in the group and some institutional knowledge about various universities, but it is also a challenge. And if there is something unusual, your university has some kind of grade deflation policy or anything like that, then I would definitely include that in the little box asking if there's anything extra that we need to know.
Great, a lot of nodding. I'll move on to the next question. How does the admissions committee view high school transfer credits for prerequisites, for example, or that is AP courses?
I don't think I've ever come across this before.
Yeah, it does sound unusual. I feel like we probably wouldn't accept it, but I feel like it's a very unusual situation.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just scrolling down through the chat here. We've addressed most of these. Yeah, so there's questions about, maybe it's related to COVID, but is this program offered online or part-time?
The answer would be no in both cases.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's of course a bit difficult to know exactly what's going to happen in the sort of next year, but in general, we do require that people get to Vancouver.
Yes. Another question that probably we cannot answer, but what is the average GPA of applicants accepted?
Yeah, I don't know that one. That's not something we've tracked on Okanagan campus anyway.
Yeah, and it's impossible to track because, like we talked about, there's so many different universities with different grade, the way they grade. Some of them are percentages, some of them are out of 4.0, some of them are out of 5, some of them are 4.25, and some of them are letter grade. So it's impossible to calculate exact GPAs. But again, we're a very competitive program. So the higher your GPA, the higher your chances to get into the program. Yeah, so here's a question just popped up in the chat. What are the differences or benefits of one particular program? You know, the differences between maybe Okanagan, Vancouver, and CL. And then I have a follow-up question after.
Maybe I'll let Mika go first.
Yeah, I mean, for the CL program, this is sort of easy to answer. So we have a very strong focus on computational linguistics and natural language processing. So that's sort of the most important thing. We focus on language applications. And we also have a fairly strong focus, especially in the spring part of the program, on neural networks and deep learning methods. So I think that's two of the sort of main things for the MDSCL program.
Yeah, and then the Okanagan campus differentiates a little bit less from the Vancouver campus in terms of the programming, but there are some differences in the modules and the focus. One example of this is that we have a really world-class math optimization group, and so we have an optimization module that's included in the program near the end and taught by one of those faculty members.
Yep, I think that those are kind of the differences between those programs and the MDS Vancouver program. MDS Vancouver program is the general, what we think you will need as a data scientist to be productive on day one after you graduate in the widest range of data science jobs that we can cover. And we've been working on the curriculum and improving it every year.
Yeah, and then another obvious difference is that the size of the cohort. So Vancouver, we usually accept around 100 students. Okanagan, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's about 35 to 45 students.
Yep, that's correct. So the cohort sizes are a bit different. It's a sort of tighter cohort in that sense on the Okanagan campus.
Yeah, and MDSCL is around 45 students, right, Mika?
Yeah, that's correct.
Great. Another question that kind of follow up from the previous question is about how does the program compare or compete with other programs that are out there? So not just maybe degree programs, master's degree programs, but also maybe some online certificate programs. So how do you, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I can answer that or start answering that. So first of all, the MDS program was created from scratch. So a lot of other data science programs that I've looked at around the country and around the world are more or less a list of courses that previously existed. And if you complete all of these courses now, you've gotten the degree. But data science is really its own field with its own way of doing things. And we don't do statistics exactly the same way as a statistics department, and we don't do computer science exactly the same way as a computer science department. And so we have designed every course in the program completely from scratch, both doing things in the data science way of doing things in the modern way of doing things, because the fact that the program is so new means we can't possibly have a course that's 10 years out of date. And even in the 5 or 6 years that we've existed, we've been updating the courses, and in a cohesive way that bundling together a bunch of different courses is not going to form the same cohesive program that we have. Second of all, the MDS program, and I'll speak for MDSV specifically that I know best, we have a dedicated teaching team of about 8 people, and I posted that link in the chat earlier showing you who we are. And we are a team. We all work on the MDS program full time. We all meet every week. We know exactly what's going on with each other. And in some other programs I've seen, those courses are kind of disjoint offerings, and each one is taught by a professor who spends 20% of their time teaching that course, and then they forget about it and do whatever else they're doing it. Whereas our team is immersed in MDS and very in touch with each other to give you that kind of coherent experience. We are also one of the earlier programs being created, and we've been refining the program every year since then. We don't stop and relax, because that's not the type of people we are. So every year we're improving our courses more and more, and I think we can really see the difference as time passes as well.
Yeah, I agree with Mike's comments there. And one additional detail, if you look closely at a lot of those programs, I won't say all of them because I haven't researched every single one lately, but they not only are borrowing courses that already existed, they're borrowing courses that are currently being offered to other sets of students. And so you're often wrapped in with people taking other degrees, which is a little bit different than our process here, where it's the sort of cohort based, you're all in it together kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd also like to mention the cohort sort of based approach. I think students find it very important that they get support from their peers, and everybody in it is in it sort of together. So that's a huge aspect. And I'd say the very strong connections with the industry are also a sort of big aspect with our Capstone projects.
Yeah, and to add to that, because we have this cohort-based approach, the students basically spend every waking moments over 10 months together. They get to know each other really well, which builds a stronger alumni community. So because they know each other very well, because they know exactly the skills they have coming out of the program, when they graduate and they get jobs, if there is a job opening or if there's some tips that they can give to fresh graduates from the MDS program, the alumni community becomes very important. They think of the students that are currently in the program first before they, for example, post a job to the general community. They let us know first. We have a very, I think, a strong alumni community because of the cohort model that we have.
Actually, that's a great point, and I want to elaborate on that, Milad. I don't know what the alumni community is like for all the other data science programs, but I know that ours is outstanding. We have an alumni Slack with all the MDS grads from the 3 MDS programs, and that's got to be over 500 alumni by now. And they help each other out, and they help out the new generation. So I was just clicking through the Slack while Milad was talking, and students are asking questions like, is it worth it to get the AWS Cloud Practitioner certificate? And then 20 replies in that thread from all kinds of people giving their opinion and who have done the AWS Cloud Practitioner certificate. And then another question, does anyone have any good resources on building personalized recommender systems? 8 replies with all kinds of things from there. And then we also have a jobs channel on our alumni Slack. And I was just looking at that while Milad was talking, and someone actually posted a job during this meeting about 20 minutes ago for a senior data scientist posting. But I mean, even just in the month of December, we're only at December 7th now, but there's 5 different jobs posted there in the last 7 days from all those 500 people who are all doing very interesting things and have access to interesting opportunities. So the alumni community is something we're very proud of. And I think it's a testament to the positive experience that those alumni had in the program that they remain so engaged in the alumni Slack.
Yes, thank you. So in the last maybe 5-6 minutes, I wanted to ask you about your opinion of the, with COVID and with the pandemic, the career prospects for MDS graduates. Yes, take it away.
I mean, we have, it's a good question. We have surveys that we send to our alumni, and I haven't noticed any major differences in the survey responses from our alumni in recent years, but I don't know what other people would think. I mean, it's obviously been a challenging time for the whole world, but on the other hand, it has been a time for data and data science to really come to the forefront with reporting on COVID and vaccines and all those things. So I think there's complicated effects on the field of data science in both directions. And I don't know, but overall, as I said, I haven't observed a drastic change in the last year or two.
Yeah, I would agree. Through our surveys, we haven't noticed a ton of difference either. So I think the prospects are still, as high as they've been, with the caveats that Mike's given.
Yeah, my impression is that for CL students as well, the prospects are very strong and have continued to be so throughout the pandemic.
Great, thank you. So we have 5 minutes left. Any final tips, thoughts, tidbits that you want to give a potential applicant to the program?
I guess I know this sounds obvious, but I definitely recommend reading through that application tips page that was put in the chat here, but is also linked to from our actual application itself. I often read applications that are kind of doing the exact opposite of what we recommend in there. So if you're interested in the MDS program, I recommend reading through the application tips. I recommend researching the program and articulating why you're interested in the program. You could also reach out to current students and alumni on LinkedIn. If you want to ask them questions, they're generally very friendly. And look forward to seeing your applications.
Yeah, I don't think I have a ton to add beyond that either. I'm looking forward to the application season as well, and we'll be starting to review the ones that we've got on hand over the next couple of weeks, and starting to think about where those offers are going to come out near the end of January.
Yeah, I think these were great points. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but again, I would make sure that the language interest comes through.
Great. I kind of wanted to wrap up with that, but we have 3 more minutes left. So I'm just going to pick some more questions in the Q&A to maximize our time. There is questions again about GPAs and work experience. Obviously people are worried about not meeting the prerequisites, but making it up with work experience. Any final thoughts about that?
Yeah, I would reiterate that of course work experience can make up for lower GPAs. Prereqs to the program are not really negotiable in a sense. You have to meet the prereqs, but in terms of your competitiveness with other applications, certainly work experience can make up for any sort of detriments in terms of a raw GPA calculation or something like that.
Great. Finally, I wanted to let you know that if you have any questions, obviously you can connect with us by email. Our deadlines are January 30th, so there is still some time left. If you haven't submitted your application, I think in the chat, our staff will put in the email addresses that you can connect with. Then I wanted to thank Jeff, Mike, and Mika for your time answering these questions. We all look forward to your application. We enjoy reading your applications and hope to see you in the program in September. Thank you for joining, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.